Hello, this is Kevin. Uh, very professional recording setup here. I just kind of want to make a video talking about this deck. I've been playing a lot in One Piece. I keep talking about it. It's one of my favorite decks ever right now. So we're gonna have a look. This is Trafalgar Law, and he has the Seven Warlords of the Sea type, and the Supernovas type, and the Heart Pirates type. He's a standard 5-life monocolor leader, and his leader effect says select 2 of your Supernovas or Heart Pirates type characters. Swap the base power of the selected characters with each other during this turn. So what that effectively turns into is a really interesting style of aggro deck where you play weenies and then you play big guys, and then you switch their powers so that the weenies suddenly hit for way higher power than you would really expect them to. I'm gonna literally go through and talk about every single card in this deck. It says the leader effect says swap 2 of your Supernovas or Heart Pirates characters, and while there are characters, or maybe character with both types, they printed characters that have the Heart Pirates type and not the Supernovas type. But aside from literally just the leader effect, none of the cards really have super great synergy with the cards that are the Heart Pirates type and not Supernovas. So this is basically a Supernovas deck. Although there's a couple non-Supernovas in there, which we'll get to. I would say that cards in this deck break down into 3 types. We have the weenies, the curve cards, and the 2K counters. For those of you who don't remember or don't know, One Piece is a game that has what's called a curve. Each turn, if you're going first, you have 1 Dawn, then 3, then 5, then 7, then 9, then max of 10. Gaining 2 each turn, and if you're going second, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So normally, when you're playing on curve, you're trying to play a character the earliest that you can afford to. That being said, this deck's core cards are literally the deck's curve cards. There's a 3 and a 4 that are kind of interchangeable, and then there's a 5, a 7, and a 9, but I actually normally that would lead you to think that you'd want to play the deck going first to get the max value out of your curve, but I actually prefer second, and maybe I'll get into that in more of like an analysis section towards the end, but for now, let's talk about the cards. We are going to start with the 1-cost weenies. I run all 3 of these cards at 4 copies and have no intention of ever running any of them at less than that. These are cards that I want to see on my first turn, and if I'm going second, I want to even start with 2. You really want to have, you pretty much want to have at least 1 weenie on the board at all times. First up here, we got Luffy, a pretty standard searcher card. Look at top 5 cards from the deck, reveal 1 Supernovas type card other than Luffy, and add it to your hand. Then, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So search out a card you're looking for, draw it, and then he does have a when attacking effect. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during this turn. You will see similar effects. This deck does have a bit of power reduction, which can be helpful for winning the board war. And this Luffy does have the Straw Hat Crew type, which will come a little bit handy later. Here we have Killer. He says activate main once per turn. Give up to 1 Arrested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. There are multiple red cards that do this. This is, I think, the 3rd functional reprint of this same effect. The good thing here is that it is a Supernova type. And I really like this guy when I go first and I'm stuck playing everything on curve and I want to jam out a little bit of extra offense. And finally, here is Basil Hawkins, a low-key, really sick card, though of the 3, he's the one I'm least looking for at any given time. And what Hawkins says is On KO, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck and play up to 1 Supernovas type character with 2,000 power or less other than himself. So if you swing at him and kill him because you're scared that the big weenie will grow to 7,000 power and you just want to get rid of him, well, he's going to replace himself. And he might even replace himself with a searcher, so not only do I replace him, but I also draw a card. So these are our tiniest but most important little guys. This is going to be kind of an awkward situation in the video, but we have 2 more weenies to talk about, though they're not the 1 costs, and then we have the first of our curve cards, being either this 4 cost kid or this 3 cost Zoro. But we're going to start with this weenie real quick. This is Cavendish. He's a supernova. It says if this character has 5,000 power or more, he gets Rush. So this is kind of more of a late game card. It feels like once you get some big bodies established, you suddenly drop this guy. You pay 2 Dawn, and you have a rusher that can be 7k, 8k, 9k, whatever. And it's going to be really good, surprising, really good value. That being said, he feels kind of bad to play anytime before late game, and sometimes this deck doesn't super always struggle with closing out games. I run him at 4 currently. This is the 1 card where if I want to tech or mess around, this is probably going to be the first card I sacrifice copies of. I don't really think I need to run him at 4. Next up is Urouge, the funniest supernova, because he is barely in the show, but he certainly is a supernova. He is a 3 cost 2,000 power weenie, which isn't my favorite stat line, but he has a really good effect. If this character has 5,000 power or more when he attacks, I draw a card and KO one of my opponent's characters with 3,000 power or 3,000 base power or less. So this is kind of a matchup dependent card. There are some matchups where this guy can really cook versus like other decks that play small bodies. And sometimes it's just nice to get the extra draw, though I really, really hate paying 3 Dawn for a weenie. I usually like to pay 1 or none. But he's definitely cool to have when I play him off of the earlier mentioned Hawkins effect. And also, with our 4-drop, our first really non-weenie character, Eustace Captain Kidd. He's a blocker, which is good. He's the only real blocker in this deck. I'll go over what that means later. But on play, if your leader has the Supernovas type, play up to 1 red character card with 2,000 power or less from your hand. So I pay 4 for him, and I get to play him out for free, and I feel like I didn't waste my time playing him, and I get this really cool effect. So definitely, I love these 2 as a combo going second on 4 Dawn. More reasons I love to go second. Another card, this is a card I run in the deck just in case I go first. I only run him at 3 because I tend to prefer second, and he's just really simple. He is a supernova type. This is a very old card. It's actually going to rotate out pretty soon, which is a little sad for me, but there's cards that can replace it, but I don't think either of them fully cover this card's role, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. We have Roronoa Zoro, 3 cost 5,000 power Rush. There is a 4 cost 5,000 power Rush, and a 3 cost 5,000 power that doesn't have Rush, so I'm probably going to replace him with one of those, but neither of them will really fully cover what I'm looking for with this Zoro, but it doesn't always come up. I prefer him more when I'm going first, and I try not to go first when I can, so this is the start of our mid-game. Finally, we have our mid to late game curve cards. More supernovas. These guys, you can tell we have a 7k, an 8k, and a 10k base power. So in the late game, I get to drop one of these guys, and suddenly this 0 power Luffy is attacking you for 10,000 power or something. But we will sort of cover that as we go on. First up is X-Drake. He is great to play on my 5/6 Dawn turn. I prefer 6. He says, Opponent's turn. Once per turn, if your Supernova's type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may give your leader minus 2,000 power during this turn instead. I initially thought that this was bad because I did not want to give my leader minus power on my opponent's turn. But realistically, it doesn't come up that much because people tend to just say, oh shit, I can't remove anything while this guy's on the board, and they don't even really try. Or if they do, they have some kind of plan and I might already be cooked. But in general, this card is really sick. One of the best cards in the deck, actually. Dawn ×1, when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. So he also helps me with board control and helps me prevent me from getting board controlled. So he's just a really, really nice guy to have. I really, really need to see him win as early as possible, so I do run him at 4. Next we got Zoro. A friend of mine at the One Piece scene was very kind to trade me the alt art version. Here's the standard. I got one accent piece. I don't normally bling out my decks, so it's really cool when I can. This guy's pretty simple. He's a 7th cost, 8,000 power character who's got Rush, and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during the turn. So again, he can swing into something and make it a little bit weaker, easier to kill. But what really makes this great is 7 cost, 8,000 power with Rush means that he's coming down, he's swinging 8,000 power at you, and then one of my little weenies who's been sitting around not doing anything up until this point is suddenly also swinging 8,000 power at you, so you're dealing with 2 8,000 power swings as soon as this guy hits the board. And finally, we got our boss monster. I actually only run him at 3 because as a 9 cost, I usually find one in time, and I don't normally need more than one in a game. Because by then I either, like, am killing you, or I'm cooked, or... Well, once I establish this guy, I do sometimes play more than one, but sometimes I just will want to play another Zoro, or just another, maybe like a Cavan, just like something else. So, and I have plenty of time to get to him. He doesn't come out until 9/10 dawn. So I run him at 3. Still very important. He's a 9 cost, 10,000 power with Rush. So once again, this guy hits the board. He swings 10,000 at you, which is massive. And then one of my weenies that you've kind of not been able to deal with up until this point, hasn't turned sideways, whatever, is now also swinging 10,000 power at you. So this guy shows up and you were getting 2 10,000 power shots right into your face, or a character, probably at your face. And he has this really interesting effect. On your opponent's attack once per turn, you may trash 2 cards from your hand. Select your leader and 1 character. Swap the base power of the selected cards with each other during this battle. So I can pitch 2 cards, this, especially in the late game, like this guy's a brick, the Zoro's a brick, the X-Drake is a brick, so pitch 2 of those guys, my leader goes up to 10,000 power, just like a really huge counter that I can do once. And yeah, and then he's a 10k body, really hard to get rid of. He's a 9 cost, which is good, so he really sticks around. And yeah, next up we're going to talk about the 2k counters. Alright, here we are in the my new TCG lab. To talk about the final section of the deck, my 2k counters. Just in general as a reference, this isn't like a general deck building video, but in general, cards that have 2,000 printed counter value tend to have a certain amount of value in and of themselves, just due to, for survivability purposes and being able to counter. So normally a deck wants to run like, usually like 10 to maybe 16 on the higher end for some decks, though I also actually play a deck right now that runs 8, which kind of is scary, but in general, like, so I run 12 in this deck, and I'm generally trying to find 2k counters that might have some kind of playable effect sometimes, but in general, they have more value in the hand. But here we go. We got this. This is one of the new 2Ks, printed 4 law. This is also the only one I run at 4 copies. Mainly just the reason I like this one. He does have blocker. If I give him 2 hold on, we're not doing that. This card ideally doesn't ever hit the field. This is like the least playable one, but it's also the one I keep at the highest. Mainly because, for one, he has got the supernova type, so he's searchable off of the only searcher in the deck. So if I really need to grab a 2K, I want my searcher to be able to help me with that. And he is also, he's kind of like a last resort for playing off of the Hawkins effect. If just having more targets for this is always good. Having Hawkins miss really sucks because that's like the whole purpose of the card is to play out a guy with 2k power or less. So mainly that he's like a niche Hawkins pick and a searchable 2k. And like I don't know, maybe in like the most desperate of situations I play. I've seen this. I've played a lot of card like decks. I've played a lot of games with this deck. I've maybe had this hit the field like twice. As for our other searchable 2K, I'll go into this one next. I have Jewelry Bonnie. This is just a 6 cost 7k power. Supernova, and just no effect. Just a beat stick. The reason why I like this card is because sometimes I just need a backup. Sometimes I don't have my Hawkins on 6, so I'll play this out. Sometimes I don't have my Zoro on 7 or 8, so I play this out. Just in general, having another biggish body with the Supernovas type to facilitate my leader effect sometimes is good. I actually play this card. This is probably, of all these 2Ks, this is probably one that hits the board the most often. Though I'm never thrilled about it, but it's just nice to have her as a backup. A lot of laws that I see online don't run this card, and I think that it's underrated just for that utility alone, and also being searchable. Next up, we got Sanji. If you are a red deck and you have any Straw Hats in your deck at all, you run this card. This is not searchable. I run it at 3, and he says, on play, select up to one of your Straw Hat crew type characters with 6,000 power or more. If the selected character attacks during this turn, your opponent cannot activate blocker. So some decks can really hold up and hide behind blockers in the late game, and it can be really hard to overcome. So, and we have obviously a couple Straw Hats in this deck. This is mainly most synergistic with the Zoro. He's already got 8,000 power, so he's within Sanji's range, but also if I have a Luffy out and I switch his base power with anybody, the Sanji works for him too. So Sanji's mainly just a closer. And finally we have Makino. I run this one at 2. A lot of Law players seem like really sold on this card, but I kind of get it. You can add an extra 3k to one of your 1 costs, but they're already swinging most turns for like 7, 8, 10k. Like, I don't really know if it's that necessary. I mainly only really like using her with Hawkins, because then I didn't even read her effect, I'm sorry. Activate main, you may rest this character up to one of your red characters with a cost of 1, gains plus 3,000 power. So it buffs 1 costs. I like her. My best use case for her, honestly, is Basil Hawkins, because sometimes if I have a lot of weenies out, I can only buff one of them. It might be nice to play this out, play the Makino out to get my Hawkins up to 5k for 1 more chip. That's about all that's really she's here for, is Hawkins, and also maybe just like making big numbers in the late game. She's also about to rotate out, and when she does, it's very likely I'm just going to up both of these to 4, though I think this deck is supposed to get another 2k in the future that might solve some of my other problems, so I might just run that at 4, I don't know. But for now, this is my least favorite 2k in this deck, but that's all the 2ks, and that's every card in the deck. Now I'm going to kind of do like an overview of what I want my curve to look like in a given game, though, obviously this is idealized and doesn't show, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to be sort of just going through and showing what like an ideal law game looks like from my end. The ideal law curve isn't super matchup dependent though. Hopefully, like in the near future, I can either record some sim. I can either figure out OBS and record some sim gameplay, or maybe try and set someone up to record some games, either at my shop or maybe when John comes over. Hi, John. So, starting off, turn one. I'm gonna say my ideal law game is going second. So on turn one, we have 2 Dawn. Ideally, I spend 1. Hopefully I find a Luffy in my opening hand. In general, we're just looking for 1 costs. This is like my ideal turn 1 state on 2 Dawn. The Luffy here to search me out a card, and a killer to be able to just attach rest of Dawn later as needed, just for extra power. This is like my favorite, but any combination of these 3, like 2 Luffys, a Luffy and a Hawkins, a killer and a Hawkins, whatever, is cool with me. Even like double, like 2 Luffys is cool, 2 killers is cool, 2 Hawkins is like, I feel like that's the one combination of 1 cost that I would maybe mulligan, but even then I might keep it. Just because, again, it's just nice to have 2 1 costs. So in general, they're probably going to live because they can't turn sideways. So turn 2, when I'm at 4 Dawn, I'm counting Dawn on the side here. So turn 2, I reach 4 Dawn. My ideal 4 Dawn play is our blocker kid. He says on play, if your leader is a Supernova's type, play up to 1 red character with 2,000 power or less from your hand. So I can play a second copy of one of those. I can play a Hawkins, but since we're talking ideal, we're going to play out our Rouge, my 3 cost 2k guy that I pretty much love to play off of kid. So, and then I'll, maybe attach a rest of Dawn to leader, swing 6, and then use my leader effect, swap 2 base power of Supernova's characters. I would swap the kid with the Luffy. So we get another 5k swing. Pass turn, the Luffy, depending on board state. Sometimes if my opponent swings at like my Luffy or whatever, I might actually block for it, but let's say I don't. Say they got enough stuff to where I just am not gonna bother. So we make it to 6 Dawn. And another ideal turn is we spend 5 on X-Drake. He doesn't have Rush, but, I can activate my... The only thing that is unfortunate about this deck is I have to play out the characters first. So I gotta play out this X-Drake, and then... in some matchups that really sucks, having to play out characters before attacking. But then, use my leader effect, swap X-Drake and a Rouge, swing 7,000 at something, I draw a card, I maybe kill something, good stuff, thank you, a Rouge. In general, I'm kind of normally expecting my little guys to die. Depending on the matchup, I'm also swinging with lead. Maybe if I'm really trying to put pressure on, I'm swinging with my blocker kid, but he's also my only blocker. So, as we do, once again, assume that the weenie gets killed. And then, sorry, we're on 6 Dawn, excuse me. So that means that I spent 5 on the X-Drake. I could use another Dawn to pump up a guy, or I might just play out another weenie. The one reason I like going second is because on my odd curve cards, I always have an extra Dawn to play out a 1-cost weenie if I have to, because in general, I want there to always be a little guy on the board to take advantage. And if I have killer, I'm kind of trying not to always swing with him unless I really have to, because his passive effect is just really good to have on the board, and he will die if he ever turns sideways. And then again, it sort of gets pretty standard from here. On my next turn, I play out a Zoro. On my 8 Dawn turn, we got Zoro. He's got Rush, so I slam 8,000 into something. I activate my leader effect. I have Hawkins slam 8,000 into something. I swing. I'm not really doing my... this isn't really proper sequencing. I'm just kind of showing you how many swings this deck can get. So and we got another 7,000 with X-Trake and a 5,000 with Law. So we're applying like really heavy pressure and doing big swings. So ideally, let's say the Hawkins dies, but then, you know, off of his effect replaces himself. I'll just grab an Arouge. It would be so lucky. I would love if I played an Arouge off of Hawkins, but it never happens. And then at this point, it turns out this can be kind of awkward because we already have 5 characters. So I'd probably just, whatever I do play off of the Hawkins, I'd probably just get rid of it anyway. So then on my 10 Dawn turn, we play out Big Law. He's got Rush. So I slam 10,000. And I do 8, and I do 7. And I can even do like a 5 or a 6 with leader or what. And then I switch, bam, another 10k. Because I do my leader effect to swap these and that. Just in general, I like this game loop of play a big fucker down, slam for 10,000 power, and then take my little 1k guy, turn him into 10k, slam 10k a second time. So just in general, I think this deck's game plan is like really funny and super fun and satisfying. This deck has a couple of really bad matchups, but in general, I think he actually does pretty well into a lot of the top tiers. I just don't think he's solo. I don't think he's, well, I shouldn't say solo. I don't think he's like big tournament viable because I would say like one of the most popular decks in the game has probably like a 1-9 matchup into me. But a lot of the other decks, I feel like I go even. I feel like there's probably some good decks I'm even advantage into. It's just a really fun deck. I hope I can show you some gameplay soon, but if not, until then, that's me. Hopefully this video made sense.